Hi, Miss Hayashi. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to spotlight you for everyone.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, Scott.
Yes, I am just making Scott co-host right now.
Okay.
Ah, now I can unmute myself. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm okay, thank you. This is a really exciting event. I wish I weren't having to work all week and could attend more of it.
Well, we're so grateful for having you. I've been wanting to interact with you and have you in one of these events for a long time. I'm such a big fan.
Oh, good. That's not very nice to hear.
I got introduced to your work maybe 5 years ago, and maybe 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and by a friend of mine in San Francisco who did a lot of your trainings. And yeah, I just fell in love.
That's really great to know.
Yeah.
Is that where you are also in the Bay Area?
No, I'm actually in New York City.
Oh, we're neighbors.
We're neighbors. You're in upstate New York? In
I'm in
Hudson?
upstate, yeah. I mean, upstate if you're a New Yorker, not really upstate.
Yeah. Are you in Hudson?
And no, not that far up. I'm in Ulster County, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I'm in the.
Just that's just above Westchester?
It's above. No, it's on the other side of the river.
Oh, yeah.
I'm on
Okay.
the west side of the river, exactly. Bus side of the river, not the train side.
Yes, now I remember. I feel like I haven't been up that way in a while.
Are you in Brooklyn?
Yeah, in Park Slope.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I love it here.
My son and his family are also in Brooklyn.
Oh, they are?
Yep. They
In
were,
which?
they were in Borum Hill, but then they bought a place, so they're way out on Ocean Parkway now.
Okay.
But he teaches at St. Anne's, which is right in Brooklyn Heights.
St. Anne Warehouse. Yeah, yeah. Next to the theater, right?
I don't know where there's the church and there's the warehouse and then there's the school. I'm not quite sure how they're all situated.
Or in proximity.
Exactly.
It's just,
So
yeah.
let me know a little bit about what's going on and what I should expect and
Um, yeah, people will come in. We'll start in about 12 minutes. And we have some people already on. Hi, everyone.
hi.
And as you're joining us, you're welcome to let us know where you are in the world, where you're zooming in. If you want to head into the chat box or head in and let us know in the chat box. This is Arawana Hayashi's session on the art of making a true move, social presence in theater. Is there anything that are you going to do any screen sharing or anything like that?
No, nothing at all. I'll do a little sharing of what it's about and then we'll
Yeah,
do a little practice together.
beautiful. Look forward to that. Is there anything you need from our end or?
So I was thinking about if we could do it, I could do two different things. And maybe what would be nice is to do a little breakouts, short breakout groups of three. I think that should be fine. And so I'll just tell you when that is. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Just,
Sometimes what happens in summits for breakouts is that some people will drop out.
mm,
And so
maybe we shouldn't do that.
it can be a little tricky with summits around breakout in the middle of sessions.
They
But
don't, people don't like to go into breakouts sometimes, I know.
it's kind of mixed, yeah. But it's up
Maybe
to you.
we won't. We'll just keep things together then.
Okay.
And then might feel more comfortable just hanging in there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think it's still yeah.
Have most of the sessions had people practicing together?
Yeah, in various different ways.
Mhm.
The last session was with Shiva Ray, so there was like a movement yoga meditation.
Mhm.
And then the previous session, there was some meditation practice and some mindfulness practices.
Great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we have friends coming in from all over, from Oklahoma, USA, and Ontario and Toronto, Canada, Cancun, Mexico, Denmark, Los Angeles, California, India. Beautiful. We'll get started in about 10 minutes, everyone. And as you're joining, we'd love to hear where you are zooming in from. What does the painting on the back of your wall say?
Oh, it's actually a calligraphy. I didn't realize you could see so far.
My glasses
It's
on.
a calligraphy that says Bugaku, which is the name of the Japanese court dance that I used to do. I hardly
Oh,
practice anymore,
yeah.
sadly, but was trained, and many, many years, 30
Hmm.
years maybe,
Wow.
I did this, studied and performed at this. It's like 7th century Japanese court dance. It's really old.
Oh, wow.
I was very fortunate to have a teacher who came from Tokyo, from the Imperial Household Music Department, who was on the faculty at University of California in Los Angeles.
Wow.
So he spent 20 years in the US, and therefore some of us were able to study music and dance with him.
Wow.
And the calligraphy is done by a Zen um, teacher whose name was Kobenchino Roshi.
It's beautiful.
It, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Is that where did you used to live in California?
I never have.
Never
I've
have.
never lived in California.
You're a New Yorker, true and true.
No, I'm a Midwesterner actually,
Oh, you are?
but my whole since college I've been on the East Coast, Boston, Cambridge, and then New York. So I'm pretty much an East Coast person now.
We're in
But
the
so
Midwest.
I had to travel back and forth.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and also then eventually we brought him to do workshops. At the time I was living in Boulder, and he came to Colorado, and then he came to New York. But it was traveling across. I never actually lived there, but
Nice.
it's wonderful to have have good teachers, right? That's such a blessing in life.
Yeah, big difference. Where in the Midwest are you from?
Ohio.
Ohio. I'm from Minnesota.
There we are.
A shared Midwestern New York uh,
Exactly.
migration.
Exactly. Some of us probably weren't suited for the Midwest in one way or the other.
Not so much. It's lovely. It's a lovely place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, friends coming in from Montreal, Canada, and northern New Mexico, and the United States.
Oh, Amber's from Ohio, or at least is in Ohio.
Is in Ohio. Oh, yeah. Ember's in Ohio. Uh, Mariana is in Texas, but Brazilian. Oi. Uh, Tina, hello from Cornwall, England, and friends from Belgium and Oklahoma, Yukon. Beautiful. So we'll get started in about 6 minutes, everyone. This will be the session on the art of making a true move, social presence in theater. And we'll get started in about 5 minutes. In the meantime, we'd love to hear where you are zooming in from. If this is your first session of the day, or you've joined us for previous sessions so far, I'd love to hear where how it's gone so far for you, the summit. Friends coming in from the UK and Florida in the United States.
Are many of us on the call? Are many people therapists? Do they work in healing arts of one sort or the other?
I think it's really a mixed group of people just interested in healing arts and mind, like the intersection of sort of traditional ancient lineages in how they infuse into perhaps Western therapies.
Mm-hmm. It's
Like the
wonderful.
integration of sort of ancestral and indigenous lineages and embodiment somatics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Such an important on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Disruption and suffering.
Yeah. Oh, we have a few friends who've shared that they're psychotherapists
Great. Thank
and
you.
professors, body workers. Beautiful. Long-time receiver of therapy. Yeah. Recreational therapists, friends from LA,
Oh, yeah.
natural health professional, Reiki teachers. Beautiful.
Scott, do you work in the healing professions yourself, or are you always doing tech for Zoom?
A little of both. I'm a osteopath and,
Oh,
and I'm a
fantastic.
psychologist as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, couldn't make up my mind, so I went in several routes.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful, though, that you have those two together.
Yeah, I was always bummed they were never taught together. I mean, at least not in the United States so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and osteopathy is quite different in Europe than the US. Having seen osteopaths in both
Both.
Germany and here in New York, it's really different. Different training, different focus, and very interesting.
Yeah, only about 4% of osteopaths in the US are manual osteopaths, so have work in the same way that the sort of European, even though osteopathy started in the United States,
Yeah.
which is still wild to me sometimes. We have more friends who are hypnotherapists and artists and counselors. Great. Yeah, we'll get started in about 3 minutes, everyone, for Arawana's Hayashi's session on the art of making a true move, social presencing theater. And in the meantime, we'd love to hear where you are zooming in from. Some people are sharing sort of their relationship to mind-body therapy, whether they're counselors or just interested or have a background in it. Just finishing hypnotherapy course, fun, body worker. Great. How long ago did you start social presencing theater? I was trying to remember.
Oh goodness, I'm trained as a dancer, right?
Yeah.
So the work itself started quite, like the origins of the work started quite a long time ago, actually in the 1970s probably. And then, yeah, and then it went in a certain direction, which is like this combination of meditation and movement.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until 2003 that I actually met Otto Scharmer. And then that moved the work in a completely different direction. And it was his name. Social presencing theater is something that he wrote about,
Yeah.
but he actually didn't know what it was. He's kind of visionary like that. He
That's
had this
interesting.
idea, this
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
And then by auspicious coincidence, we met in 2003 and started to work together. And several years later, what I was calling my work the art of making a true move
Yeah.
kind of went under then social presencing theater. And some of those practices are some, like we'll do one today.
Yeah.
It's been with me since the 1970s. And
Love
then
it.
many of them that have to do with systems change are
Yeah.
more recent.
Yeah. Cool. I'm excited. I'm excited to finally have some time to be with you and, well, as close to real life as possible in the last couple of years. Great.
If you
So
had
we'll
said
get,
a year ago that we could do embodiment work online, I would have said, I don't think I could do that. But here we are, over a
here
year
we
later,
are. I
and
know.
we do it.
I
Yeah.
know. I think, yeah, it's amazing. It and it's cool that it works. I mean,
Yep.
for those
Yep.
of us, I mean, I was so grateful to do so much in person, but really appreciative of the opportunity to study with people and hang out with people from all over the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm looking forward to being in the room with people, though, I have to say.
I hear that. I hear that.
2 weeks from now, I'm doing two courses in Vienna and one in Paris, in which they're
Oh,
in the room and I'm in New York.
oh yeah.
We have no idea what that's going to be like
That
yet.
would be interesting.
We'll see.
You'll have to let me know how that goes. I'm curious. Wow. Cool.
We tried it once before,
Yeah.
and it was, we need people in the room that actually can hold the room, and
Yeah, yeah.
but we'll see.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be amazing. I think we'll get started if that works for you.
Sure, sure.
I know people will be flowing in on the hour. So, hi everyone, welcome. So wonderful to see you all again. My name is Scott Lyons. I'm the host of the Mind Body Therapy Summit and founder of the Embody Lab. And we are so excited and I'm so grateful to have Arawana Hayashi here. The art of making, and the class will be on the art of making a true move, social presencing theater, which I've been just like so excited to dive into for the last couple of years and haven't had a chance. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity. A few things before we get started. Just a reminder, we are on Zoom, as we all know. And on the top right-hand corner, you have the option to switch between speaker and gallery view. So if you're feeling like you want to be surrounded by people a bit more, you can go on over to gallery view. We will remain muted for the session, and that's just so that we were able to focus in on the presenter. Same with the chat. We'll unmute it when there's conversations, but while presentations are happening or practices, we invite you just to write directly to us where it says MBTS Tech Assistant, and we can support and help you in any way we can. Just a reminder, there's a live transcript closed captioning option on the bottom ribbon. So if you would like visual support, you can have that option as well. And without further ado, I'm going to read Arawana's bio. Arawana Hayashi brings embodied presence practices and meditation into leadership capacity building programs of the Presencing Institute. She is creating the art-based social change method called social presencing theater that makes visible the underlying patterns in individuals, teams, and larger social systems, inviting the co-creation of healthy, compassionate futures. Love that. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you. And so look forward to it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Scott, so much, and just for the invitation to be able to meet some new people and share a little bit about the work, and hopefully we can do some practices together. I'm not used to being in these meetings where most people are not visible. So I'm just going to trust that there's somebody there. Oh, there more people are visible now. Oh, that's lovely. I really appreciate so much these little portals of shining portals where I get to see bits of people and their environments, and somehow it makes this two-dimensional Zoom world still feel like there's a social body and a social field, which of course there is, but it's a little less, the feeling of it is a little less vibrant online than it is when we're in person. Nonetheless, it's a great blessing to be able to study and share and be together during this time when we can't really travel. So I wanted to say a little bit about the work and then invite us into a couple of practices, if that's okay. So my background, as I was saying to Scott, is in dance, since I was 5, I think. So that included not only work in the theater, but also a lot of work in communities and in kind of social, in education, in schools, and in relationship to kind of social issues. So I would say, I know that this conference is about therapy. That isn't my background. But I am very interested in health. Not only health in terms of a body-mind synchronization, but also of health in terms of the social body and the social mind, or the quality of relationships in teams and organizations and communities. So I would say that the work is about healthiness, even though it doesn't come out of a therapy background. It comes out of a meditation background, a simple mindfulness awareness, which is my training. So it was bringing together a meditation practice, an art practice, or creative process, and the context of social change. So social presencing theater is really a kind of an ongoing co-creative adventure in the Presencing Institute. Presencing Institute is a network, global network of people who are doing awareness-based change initiatives. Right now, for instance, working quite a bit in the UN, implementing on the ground in countries the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, but also working with farming and food and in education, healthcare, environment, climate. So it's very, there are many, many people doing projects that are based upon a particular change theory. And that theory is called Theory U, the letter U. And it's very much about how we listen well and how we use our feeling sense, our feeling intelligence, our embodied knowing as a way of, let's say, of sensing into what is actually going on in communities and organizations. It includes a sense of awareness and practices in nature. And then it includes a very specific kind of what's called rapid prototyping. We try stuff out that we've never done before. So it has this very innovative and creative side to it. So it's probably very familiar to all of us, nothing particularly new about that, but it's very helpful to have a kind of guiding process if you're making a meeting, if you're making a project, doing about anything, there is something that's creative always. That living is a creative process. And that the more we can tune into that, the more energy and health and vividness and vitality there is with individuals and groups. So, social presencing theater is pretty much just what it says. Social means that it's primarily done with other people. There are individual practices, and we'll do one here that's about embodied presence together, and we'll do that together. But primarily the practices are done either with one person or in small groups or in larger groups. And it is about social interdependencies, social relationships. Presencing is a made-up word that is a combination of sensing, right, using our sense perceptions, what we see, hear, and feel, and that's the basis of intelligence, so that our experience, our direct experience of this moment of our life is more important than what we think about it, our opinions, judgments, concepts, assumptions, prejudices, likes and dislikes. That we're separating our mental conceptual framework from our actual experience. What does it feel like right now to be who we are? That experience, not what we think about it. So I know many of you are mindfulness practitioners, so this is nothing new. So presencing is this sense of sensing and presence, being present. And specifically, it's being present to an emerging future, to noticing, to be able to tune in to what is possible. The word theater, in the traditional meaning of theater, the root of that word, is a place where something significant is seen. It's about being visible. So we're not talking about the theater as in acting or the commercial theater, but in this case we're talking about the fact that bodies are visible. Thoughts are not visible, speech is not visible, bodies are visible, and groups of bodies are visible. And the choices we make with our body in relationship to others is highly visible. And much of our work is making visible patterns, both patterns that we call stuck patterns, where we're not able to move forward and create what we want in the world, as well as like these wisdom patterns, creativity patterns. So we're trying to make those visible, to make the system visible to itself. So that's it's kind of a nutshell about what social presencing theater is. And as I said, it's based on mindfulness and awareness. And I just briefly will say one more thing before we try it practice together. So we could say it starts with awareness of oneself, like we notice that awareness is about noticing and knowing. Right? Mindfulness is just the mind's ability to pay attention to something. Everybody has mindfulness. Mindfulness is the mind's ability to rest somewhere and to pay attention, to attend to something, right? But awareness is what knows. And when we're referring to awareness, we're talking about a very spacious way of knowing. Not trapped in our little world of opinions and thoughts, but much wider sense of knowing. And we apply that open, friendly, welcoming awareness to ourselves first. Second part is that we apply it to our context. So in this case, we here gathered, those of us that are here, we are the social body right now for the next hour or so. We're the social body. And we collectively can tune into this, the images and the feeling of one another, to create what's called a social field. So a social field is a relationship field. And even though we don't know one another, we have never seen each other in person, we don't know anything about one another. If you look around, just look at your screen a little bit, right? We just look at one another a bit. You have a feeling for that person, right? I have a bit of a feeling for Jessica. A feeling about Jennifer, a sense of it. I don't know who you are, and yet it's not like I don't have any like I don't have any sense of it or any feeling quality. So it's possible to build social fabric, or what we call social field, even in this way. So the second awareness is this social context. We're aware of our own context, where we're sitting, what's to the sides of us, what's behind, what's in front, and we're aware of one another. At least those of us that we can see one another. It's much more difficult if you can't see the person, of course, and you just have a name, but I suppose there's something there also. And maybe there's somebody there also that we just don't see. The third thing of awareness is awareness in terms of creativity or innovation. And again, I'm saying that one of the basic qualities of healthiness is feeling that one's engaging in a creative way, that living is creative. That once you feel like there's no creativity, no beauty, no aesthetic in life, this is very, this really takes one's life force energy, right? So this sense of connecting with how just things arise from open space, and an appetite for actually not knowing what's going to happen next is very important in this work in social presencing theater. Not knowing. And celebrating not knowing, rather than always being fearful and having to control and manipulate things, which we can't do anyways, right? So it's a sense of being at ease with not knowing and being curious about what's going to happen next. So those are the three kinds of awareness. Awareness of self, just paying attention and having self-knowing. Awareness of others, the social field knowing. And awareness of the space, open space, out of which we can actually engage creatively, whether that's in a conversation or in a project or in a gesture. Just how to engage without manipulating everything with our mind. Okay, so do you have anything you'd like to add or say about that so far? If anyone has anything that is pressing, otherwise we'll just go ahead. But okay, great. All right. So here's where I'd like to start. We'll just have a little bit of sitting, just a few minutes of mindfulness of body in a still shape. Now, I have to ask you, do you all have enough room that you could, but just by where you're sitting, do you have a room to just lie down on the floor? Does everybody, put your hand up if you have a little space. And if you're in a public room, you can do public space, you can just do it in your chair. But if you have a little bit of room, I'd like to try something. Okay. All right. Some of you do, some of you don't. We just do it in the chair if you don't want to, or you have your best clothes on or something like that. Okay. So let's start with a little sitting, and then I'm going to talk you through this practice which is called the 20-minute dance. We're not going to do for 20 minutes, but it's our basic embodiment, synchronizing mind and body practice. Okay? Now I'm going to read a little bit from my book, if you don't mind. So I have this little book now on social presencing theater, and there's just one introduction here which I want to read, because maybe that will help us get going. Okay. The starting point is easy. Always start with yourself, noticing and cultivating your own embodied presence. Embodied presence enables us to simply be. Simply being is an unconditional sense of all rightness for no reason, not because of credentials and not because of circumstances, but just because we are humans standing on this good earth beneath the sky. That is enough. This experience is basically good. We are simply being. The journey begins by connecting to the earth beneath us. Feeling connected to the ground supports being present. Feeling grounded, not floating around in the thought world, is a foundation for cultivating the experience of simply being. Being present in this moment of life, sitting in a chair, is enough. It is enough to feel our human beingness. A sense of being supports an experience of well-being. When our attention rests in the body, we can begin to settle down. The feeling can be pleasurable or painful. We do not need to label the experience as good or bad. It simply is. We know that this is our genuine experience, and we can settle into that without judgment, with appreciation and curiosity. A grounded person is a trustworthy person and an available person, and others feel that. So let's start with a sitting, grounded, and then I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of this still and moving practice. And if you can do that starting lying down, that would be great. And if not, that's fine also. So to begin with, let's just get our feet on the ground, flat on the ground, please. And sitting up on your chair. I think you've probably had other practices like this in the summit. Feet on the ground, seat in the middle of your chair, so that you're not leaning against the back, but that you use your own core strength to sit upright. And you don't need to be facing the screen. You can face away a little. That's just fine. So please take a moment to let mindfulness rest on your lower body, which means feet, legs, and seat. So that your mind's attention rests on your low body, your feet. And earlier we were looking at the chat at the various locations that people are right now, the land where they are. So please take a moment to feel your place on the planet right now, that every single human being, every animal has a place right now on the planet. and this is yours. So make certain that you feel your spot on this good earth. So let your weight, so that you feel your weight is really resting on the earth. And the good Mother Earth, right? She's always holding on to us. Otherwise, we'd all float off into space. She's holding us close. If any thoughts arise, you just let those go. Let your mind's attention rest on the feeling of the body connected to the earth. We're being loyal today here in this session to the body, faithful to the body, and letting the mind have a bit of a rest. You feel the back, your back body, the strength of the back. If you want to, you can remember that so many people before you, your teachers, your ancestors, all those women and men and others who have really extended themselves to help out on the planet in the arts and science and government. Medicine, so many people, and they're all behind, they're all backing us up. Now please feel the top of the head, always in some conversation with the sky, with openness, with vastness. You can feel your body is between the sky and the earth. And now please take a moment to feel the heart. Full of appreciation for this moment, appreciating your life, your circumstances, the fact that we can be together. Making certain that there's some spark of joy in the heart, something that delights you, that cheers you. And also we hold in our heart great sorrow and sadness. And particularly now when many people have suffered losses of family, friends, jobs. So this heart both feels sorrow and sadness, that sense of tenderness for the world as well as appreciation and joyfulness. So just rest for a moment in this still shape. We'll just sit for a couple of minutes, experiencing the stillness of your embodied presence. When thoughts arise, that's fine, just let them go. Thoughts come and go like clouds. Just let them go and remain loyal to the feeling of the body, just sitting connected to the earth. Let your attention rest in the feeling of the body. You can use the feeling of the body breathing, just to be present for a moment, letting thoughts go. Loyalty to the body. Now, if you will, could you please move to another sitting shape? So anything that you want, just shift to another sitting shape and rest there. Okay, and again, you're feeling the muscles of your face, your neck, shoulders, low back, belly, legs. Once more. What does the body feel like doing right now? Move into, keep moving along, moving. You're attending to the movement, and it ends in another sitting shape. It doesn't matter what it is. Something that the body feels like doing. Just rest there. Again, mindfulness is what notices the shape, the feeling of it, where the weight is, what the arms feel like. Once more, moving, you feel yourself moving, you feel yourself traveling until you end up in a still shape and rest. Okay, now, great. This is the practice of the 20-minute dance. It's alternating moving and still. The body only does two things. It's either still as a shape or it's moving, traveling, gesturing. So this is important in our work, that you can distinguish stillness from movement. Just like the mind, it can be very moving, lots of movement of thoughts, or it can be quite still, right? The body's the same way. So I'm going to ask you, this is mindfulness of body practice, to alternate moving, still, about the same amount of each. In other words, not just always still for the next few minutes, or don't keep moving and moving, but alternate. Still, then what does the body want to do? Not what do I think I'd like to do? I'd like to get into shape. I'd like to exercise. This would be a good time to do my yoga. This is not what we're doing now. Those, I'm sure, are good things to do. Right now, what is it actually that the body wants to do? It could be a small movement. It could be a large movement. Is that clear what the instructions are? Alternate moving, still, moving, still. And I'm going to ask you to start lying down on the floor. And during the practice period, which will just be like 7 or 8 minutes, time for you. In that period of time, I'd like you to move to standing. Okay, so you're going to be lying down and then sitting and then standing in the 3 levels. Start by lying down, right? I'm not going to say now sit, now stand. I'm going to let you, in this period of time of about 8 or 9 minutes, I'm going to let you find your own way, alternating moving and stillness. So you, again, you don't need to see me. I'll just, you can hear my voice, okay? So first start by lying down. Great. Oh, some people even have their camera there seeing, I can see you lying down. That's amazing. Just start by lying down. Again, you can do it in your chair if you don't feel like lying down, that's fine also. And take a moment just to be still and to feel your connection with the good Mother Earth, your place on the planet. Again, you have no agenda. You're not trying to improve yourself or get more limber, nothing like that. You're just saying, what does the body want to do now? You're really listening. And any thoughts you have, you just let them go. Okay? Please begin. Alternating movement and stillness, resting our attention on the feeling of the body. Could be a part of the body, shoulders, knees, the jaw, or a sense of the whole body. We're letting our attention rest on the feeling of the body, either as a still shape or moving. Really honoring what is it the body wants to do right now, and letting our thoughts go. We don't know what movement we're going to do next. So we have a sense of open curiosity, like what does the body want to do right now? We're coming to the last minute of our practice time. So if you haven't been standing, this might be a good time to stand and finish your practice in a standing shape. Whatever shape your body feels like being in, if you could just rest there, holding a standing shape. And particularly feeling the back of your body. So that's the most important part. That you really feel that you're a 360-degree object, as it were, a 360-degree being. That the back of your head is present, which means you feel it, right? The back of the head, back of the neck, behind your heart, upper back, mid back, low back, the buttocks and backs of the legs to the heels, that the back of the body is very present. The front is relaxed. Good. Perfect. Please return, and if there's anyone that would like to share anything, you're welcome to do that. Scott, you can help us with that, I guess, if anyone has something that they noticed. So when we talk about the work, we're very careful to describe something. You can say, I did something, or I felt something. And not to interpret, right? Just describe some moment of your experience. Anyone would like to do that? You're more than welcome. I guess we use do you use your hand? Is that how we do this?
Oh, would you like people to write it into the chat or
You know, I'd love to hear people's voices if you don't mind. Is that possible?
yeah.
I love to hear people's voice.
Naila? I'm sorry if I pronounced her name wrong.
That's fine. It's Nyla.
Naila.
Yeah, so what I noticed was that my body was a lot more adventurous than, I guess, my mind. My body wanted to kind of go into all these shapes and forms that usually I wouldn't even try to attempt those because I would think that my body isn't even capable of those.
Hmm.
But it was like it wanted to do somersaults, like its way of wanting to get from lying to standing was to do this like reverse somersault.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and my body was like very like kind of joyful and playful, and it was very interesting, very
Uh-huh.
unexpected.
Yeah, we never can tell. This is our daily practice in social presencing theater, and we often write little haikus after just to track what the day has been, what our day's 20-minute dance has been like. So this is a great description of yours as playful. Keshia? I don't know how the hand
Hello.
goes, which direction it goes. I'm sorry.
Thank you for hosting this. I'm sorry, my camera is not working on my phone. I have to go get it looked at. I think I have a software issue going on, but I am very present. And I actually had the opposite experience of the person who just spoke. And I'm so glad that she brought that up because I wasn't really sure how to respond to that. But my mind was a lot more fast paced, a lot more busy than my body wanted to be. So I had to remind myself to follow the body and not the mind. And once I followed my body, I began to actually slow down a lot. My body wanted to just do little movements like wiggle my toes or, you know, touch my knees together type of things. And my mind was like, wiggle toes fast, wiggle toes fast. And my body was like, no, let's wiggle the toes slow.
Yeah.
So, so my mind is
That's
like always on this treadmill and my body's like, okay, let's slow it down.
Exactly. I mean, that's one great thing, just with, as you said, Keshia, that the body can't move as fast as the mind. And this is like a little restorative justice project, to tell you the truth. The mind always is the loud one, right? Blah, blah, blah. It has this to say, we should be doing that, we should do this, let's do that. And the body has to kind of go along. But in this case, we're going to let the body's voice be louder, and the body's language is feeling, right? I don't mean emotion, but sensation could include emotion, but I'm talking about the physical sensation is the language of the body. And we're letting that step forward and asking the mind, particularly commenting mind, and if you referred to speedy mind, we're asking it to just step back a little. And we say, oh, okay, this is the body's time for their voice to be heard. And we're just going to let ask the mind to step back a little bit. It's a great description. Thank you so much. Yeah. And Scott, I never know which direction. Does it start at the edge? Is Martina next or Heike?
I was muted, sorry. Martina, yeah.
Okay, hello. I have actually similar experience to Nayla's, that at first I felt like just lying down and moving really slowly and calmly, but then I ended up in a headstand, which is something I haven't done for years. I used to do them as a kid all the time. And now my body decided that I want to stay on my head, sorry. So it was really like refreshing for me. So thank you for this experience.
You're welcome. It's certainly something that you can do at any time. You don't have to learn anything, memorize anything. You don't need very much space. So it's one way that the mind and the body can become more synchronized, and that we just tune into ourselves in that particular way.
Definitely.
Heike, please.
Hi, thank you so much. What a wonderful practice. I was really touched by it because so used, even in mindfulness, to just let the mind guide, no?
Hmm.
And let the mind tell the body what not to do and what to do. And we sit still, no, sitting. I was just reading again one of Pema Chodron's books, and how there's a whole chapter on how we're supposed to sit, no?
Yes.
In mindfulness meditation. And
Yeah.
interestingly enough, it's always gone a little bit, it never felt really good in my body when I read that chapter. I've had that in the past. And again, yesterday I had that feeling. And then I come into this beautiful space here today and get this invitation to let my body lead, truly lead.
Yeah.
And I found it to be a very big experience, actually, to listen to what it wanted to do. And I observed it doing all sorts of strange things.
Right.
Whatever felt comfortable.
Yeah.
And it was literally when my mind went somewhere, things turned around and my body was telling gently my mind to not distract it.
Yeah.
It became a whole different space. And I mean, this is very, very powerful. And I'm so grateful you introduced this into my life.
I really appreciate your saying, and I think I also, it was very helpful for me that meditation is not about, it's called mind training, right? You train the mind, but the way we train it is that it doesn't separate from groundedness and from the body. And oftentimes meditation is taught as this kind of mental gymnastics of one sort or the other. But this is really counterproductive, I think, for real development of some kind of settledness and some kind of friendliness with oneself and some kind of appreciation of this moment of life. So I really appreciate what you've said and how important also it was for me to just realize that it's that's really about the integration or synchronization, which means that the mind has to rest in the body. Otherwise, we just become like like once the mind and the body become desynchronized, right? Thinking this, doing this, it also becomes desynchronized with the environment, with others. And this is really not healthy, right? So the starting to have our own all rightness, our own sense of just being, then gives us also an accurate and resonant experience with others and with our environment. So I really appreciate your saying that so much, really do. And in our work, the issue is the true move. What is a true move? What does that mean even? But something about the synchronization of the mind, my mind's attention, the body, in this sort of awareness of my context, whether it's other people, nature, then I can speak truth, or I can make a gesture that isn't somehow manipulated or, like manufactured. Then it becomes true. So I really appreciate. Thank you so much for your words. Hi, Kate.
Hello. Well, I found this, you can see people behind me, so I'm at work, but I found this practice very, very interesting. So I have this tendency where I don't think I'll spend a lot of time in my body, because when I'm in my body, it actually hurts a lot. And so being up within I usually refer to it as the rafters of my brain, I don't pay attention to those things that hurt. And so like kind of hearing everybody talk and hearing their experiences being shared, and kind of mine is just like, I could sense my immediate, almost like a conditioned response to like, why am I in pain? This should be simple and this should be enjoyable. And, starting to cast those positive and or negative spins on things. And so coming back down to just experiencing, you know, this is right now. And, you know, you can make it more tolerable or less tolerable, but inevitably this is your experience right now, and embracing it is much more profound, I think, and able to engage further in the practice versus trying to fight it or trying to distance myself from it or doing the myriad other things I do to ignore it, essentially. And so I really appreciate just having that, it's not great, but it's also, it could be much worse. And right now it is. And breathing and moving and trying to find and listening. Well, does this feel better? Does shifting even slightly feel better? Does keeping a sway work? And so it was just, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I'm sure we all do, but I appreciate just the courage to work, you know, in all of our lives, we're going to have discomfort, either emotional or physical pain, and trying not to label it as a problem, but just label it as you have so gracefully done, as this is my experience. I don't need to give it a name particularly. It's just how it is. And one could be kind of curious, as you say, no, what is it saying? Like, what is my body? What is the message that my body is trying to say? It's a language, the body. And then, you know, can I really listen? It's a beautiful description of working with discomfort in many ways, you know, because it's going to come to all of us. If it isn't today, it'll be another day. And so it's not something to say, oh, something's gone wrong here. We just say, this is how it is. And what would the body like to actually do with this situation? And settling in a certain way, again, making friends with our experience beautifully. And this is certainly a basic Pema teaching, but Pema and I were trained by the same person. So we have a similar kind of resonance around how to work with discomfort. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you very much. Good. So maybe what I would like to do is just one other practice, which I think they're not there. Maybe we'll just do it. I understand that so many people are not able to be visible. So I'm just going to do it all together, if that's okay. So once we sort of establish a kind of embodied presence, then we have this sense of the awareness antennae. So I'm using mindfulness as how to attend to the feeling of the body, and awareness as this kind of antennae, something that goes out from us and experiences ourselves in a context, so that we begin to see the resonance between what we think of as an inner and what we think of as an outer world. And in the presencing work, there are several ways that we do this. One is in a duet format, in which we work with this principle called ma. Ma is a Japanese word that means a gap or an interval. So a ma would be like this. It's a little space where nothing is happening. But it's not like we've all dozed off, particularly, or passed out here. There's just this space in which we can attend. So conversation in presencing is often around allowing for this gap, and then noticing what comes from that. It's this sense of awareness. So you could say, like those of us that want to, just stand for a moment, and I'm going to go through this briefly. If you don't mind, again, if you don't want to stand, just or you're at work or something, then just you could do it sitting. But it's easier, I feel, if we stand. Okay. So in presencing, we often talk about these 4 levels of listening and conversation, and this wonderful thing that Kate said before about listening to the body, and we can listen in different ways. The level 1 listening, and we're not talking about value base here. It could be any of these could be appropriate at some time, but not all of them are conducive of creativity or innovation. So level 1 listening means I just like to fit in. I'm listening in a polite way. I don't want to rock the boat, and I want to, just kind of, I'm slightly downloading, I know this and I know that. And in a way, it's as though I live in a cocoon, and I'm just going to stay inside my cocoon. I'm going to stay within my comfort zone as much as possible. Now, movement wise, I want you to just try this with me. Movement wise, if I do this movement, like, I want you to do something that's similar. You're just we're trying to all get on the same page here. That's basically it. There's not much depth to it, but you're just, it doesn't have to be exact, but it's similar. We're just trying to keep, even on an even keel. We don't know each other that well. We don't really care that much. We're just trying to keep things moving. I say a little something, you say a little something, I say a little something. Yeah, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. It's kind of like that. There's that, and it's just downloading what we already know without much depth, but it makes things more or less kind of pleasant and polite. Exactly. Okay. Now, second level, so that's how we listen sometimes. We don't actually listen. We're just kind of projecting what we think already, and we're not really paying that much attention. The second level of listening is what we're listening for facts, and very specifically, we're looking for things that are disconfirming. The first one is confirming. Yep, this is how I would see the world. We're all kind of like this, and this is how it goes. Then you get into a conversation, let's say around in the US, can be a situation around politics, could be around race, a lot of things right now in which there's difference. People actually say things that I do not think are true. And I have to pay attention, right? I can't just say, I just can't fight back. I have to actually, but that's my first impulse. Okay, so now I want you to do something different. Like I'm going to say this, you do something different. It's completely different. Do something different. Yeah. So I'm doing something that's still, you do something that's moving. Right, exactly. Now, if I do something like this is my movement now, what would be yours? Do something completely different. Don't think about it. What would be different? Mine is moving and it's around the head and it's jiggly. What would be something different? You could be percussive or still. Exactly. Okay, what about this? If I say this in the conversation, do something completely different. Pick up on something that's different, right? Good. Exactly. Okay. If I go something very close to the screen, you do something far away, right? I'm going to go close. You do something far. I go far, you go close. So it's that contrasting. You're looking for something that's very different in conversation. Exactly. And you're going to say, in the worst case scenario, like you're going to say, I'm right. And you're going to say, no, I'm right. So that then we get into, on the good day, debate, but it also can get into conflict, as you know. All right, that's called the second level of conversation and listening. The third level of conversation and listening is called empathic. So empathic means that you can actually empathize with another person, right? You can see the world from where they're coming. You can inquire, you can say, oh, why do you think like that? What makes you feel like that? So find a couple of people on your screen and just do something that you feel is empathic. I'm looking at a couple people and I'm trying to do something where I feel like I'm actually kind of dancing with you in a certain way. Even, I hope you've got your, you've all got your gallery view on. Do you now? If not, you can just do it with me. If I'm spotlighted, that's fine. Okay, now, fourth level is where we have this concept of the ma, right? So here's what is going to happen here. Maybe in a way, I'm going to ask you, am I spotlighted now, Scott? Because I've got everybody on gallery so I can see them. But why don't you go on speaker now so that you can just see me, all of you, okay? And I'm going to leave mine open to gallery. So can you just see me now? Okay, now in working with this concept of ma and listening from this shared space, this is how it's going to go. So it's kind of like I'm doing a duet with each of you. I'm going to make one gesture. I'm going to do something, right? And then I want you to leave a big space of nothing happening. Then, from your own experience in your own body and from the image that you see, you make one gesture back, right? Okay, we're going to start now. I'm going to start and make my first gesture. Maybe just everybody just stand still for a moment so I can tell you're there. Okay, cool. So I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to let some movement arise. Now you have a little ma. And what would be your response? So it comes from the space of openness in your own sense of what would be your true move. And then stop when you finish. Okay, I'm going to do mine now. Now you, little gap, and then what would you answer from an open space? And then when you're finished, just hold your shape. And I get a sense of what you're doing, and then I have a feeling of what I'm going to do next. Now there's a little gap. And then you offer something. And then that you rest. And you? All right, beautiful. Okay, just rest a moment. So now, this is just to finish this. I know we're gonna finish here in a moment. From this sense of the Ma, the open space, I want you to think of something in your life right now where you feel is not moving forward. We call this stuck. That's one of the practices the practices are all described in the book if you're interested. So stuck is not a problem again. It's just like in the earlier conversation. Stuck is part of a creative process. Everybody who creates things has obstacles. That's how it goes. So in this case, think of something. You don't need to share what it is, but think of something that you're trying to make happen or that you're trying to create, and you have a stuck place somewhere. And that stuck could be either internal, like you don't have the confidence or something, skills, but the stuck could also be external, like you have the wrong team or an unsupportive boss or not enough money or something like that. Can be either one, it doesn't matter with this. So take a moment and think about what it is that you have to work with. So stuck is not you, right? It's a situation. People say I'm stuck, but that's not true. People are not stuck, but their situation, something is holding them from moving forward. They can be pressed down, right? You could have a stuck that feels pressed down or held back or stretched too far or conflicting loyalties, all sorts of things. So what I'm asking you to do is get something that you'd like to work with and embody that. Just stand up and make a shape, or you can do it sitting, but I like to stand up. Make a shape that embodies something that is stuck. It could be a relationship, it could be anything, but it's a stuck place. Stuck is not sustainable, right? There's nothing in nature that's stuck. It's not a sustainable situation, but it's a great learning point. Like it's a teacher. A stuck is a teacher. So what does your stuck feel like right now? Is it pressing you down or pulling you in a funny direction? Or make your stuck. Anybody who wants to, just, you don't need to say what it is, just create your stuck. So you had a little space of Ma, and out of that space comes your stuck. Okay, perfect. Now, if that stuck had a word or a phrase that it could say, what would that be? Just say the word or a short phrase. What if this stuck had a voice? If this were a sculpture and it had a title, a voice, what would this word be or phrase? Okay, you said it? Okay, now, staying with your body, just like we've been doing, you ask, now what does this stuck want to do? What does it want to do? This shape is not sustainable, right? So where in the body does it want to move? Do the shoulders want to move? The hands? Just begin the movement. Stay with the body. Don't think about it. Stay with the body. Don't think about it. What's happening with the body? Where's the weight? Where's the gaze? What's happening? Stay with it. Stay with it. The movement. What does the body want to do now? And then we rest in a second shape. Okay. Once you find your second shape, which we call sculpture 2, again, what would this shape like to say? what word or phrase does this shape want to say? And just say that. Like my shape, what comes to my mind, again, I'm not thinking about it, it just pops to my mind. It says, finding a jewel. So what is yours? Good. Okay. So I know that we don't have much time, but there's a few minutes if anybody would like to say something about either the ma or the stuck from 1 to 2, you're welcome to do that. Question or something that you'd like to share in the last few minutes we have here. You can write this down if you'd like. Write it down. What did your stuck say? What was its word or phrase? And then stuck moved to sculpture 2. It's not an unstuck particular. It's just a journey from 1 to 2 that's asking, what is it that the body wants to do? Does it really want to stay in this shape? Most people's body feels like it would like to move to something else. That's called sculpture 2 in our work. And then what does the body, what does that shape want to say? You can just write it down if you want. Again, it's all of this is boycotting the thinking process and letting the body's wisdom have a voice. Great. Oh, we have people in the chat. Sorry. And you're welcome to also speak if you'd like. Oh, thank you. This is lovely what your stucks and your sculpture 2s were saying. Opening, receiving love. I got from big and heavy to round and rolling. Certain fear rose within. Yeah, oftentimes there is we're more anxious than we think, but it's good to know that, and just to say, okay. This one is unsafe to safe, and let go to let's go. That's very sweet. I stuck with saying, these are beautiful. Yeah, it's not just, we don't frame it as stuck to unstuck. And also with mapping, systems mapping, we don't say that it's a problem solution method. It's just a way of having a little bit more body wisdom in the conversation, letting the body be enjoying the conversation. And it isn't just what we think, and isn't just based on hopes and fears, but it's based on the fact that there's feeling quality, and that the body is, it has its own kind of intelligence and its own ability to make true moves. So we start to build a little bit of confidence in that way of knowing. And to tell you the truth, in Presencing Institute is part of the culture. I mean, people just get up and start making stuck shapes in the middle of meetings. So it might seem strange in the beginning, but even the most resistant people in the beginning start to say, oh, there's something to this. So and you can make group sculptures, stucks, right? So that you have a stuck and then you ask other people to help you be more stuck, to be the forces that are keeping you from moving forward. Because in systems thinking, every It's not one person, right? Everything in the system has to shift in order for movement to actually happen. So it's not one person's burden to carry, right? It's a systems situation. Great. So Ma is translated as, so Ma is on the cover of the book. Here's what it looks like. And this is a gate, a Tori gate. And this is the sun, the kanji for sun, right? So it's a gate, a little, with the sun shining through. So in our experience of doing social presencing theater, we say, if you leave a little gap, like a gate, then some kind of insight or wisdom or beauty can come through. Right? So it's a symbol of our kind of, I mean, it's a word, a Japanese word, but it's also becomes a kind of reminder. And again, it's almost in the institution. I mean, Presencing Institute isn't exactly an institution, but people will say in design, for instance, we don't have enough Ma. We need a Ma here. We need just a gap where nothing's happening. Yeah. So, Scott, dear, I think I was supposed to close now so that you have announcements to make or something.
You're
Thank
so
you.
good with timing.
Oh yeah, I work with Germans. You work with Otto Schirmer and you've got 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes, because you're on these big,
I
giant
lived in Germany for some time.
things. I'm very precise with timing, which,
Yeah.
and I got a little note which says that you have announcements to make and that I shouldn't run on and on.
Oh, well, I do love hearing you talk. So,
For the opportunity to meet people.
yeah. Thank you, Arawana, so much. And can you hold up your book for everyone one more time? I know people were asking about it.
Yes, I'd love it if you were interested. It's can you see? It's called Social Presencing Theater: The Art of Making a True Move. And if I were any good at this, I could tell you how to get it. It's presencing.market, or it's on Amazon, of course, if you haven't boycotted Amazon.
When did it come out again?
March, I think.
So yeah, that recently. Congratulations. It's a big birthing experience to birth a book.
Well, it's good to have it written down, some of the history, and then the practices, so that people have a support if they want to do it or they want to continue in any way. They have something, we do have videos online on my website and on the Presencing website, but not all the practices are there. So it's all open sourced, but not everything is there, and the background on them isn't there. So anyways, if you're interested in, of course.
Thank you, Arawana, again for joining us. It's been such a pleasure. I've been wanting to hang out with you for so long, and thank you all for joining us live. Just a few announcements before we land the session. For those of you who also haven't boycotted Facebook, we have a Facebook group for the Embody Lab, which we'll put a link in, and it's just a really great place to be able to connect and process and share your reflections of these practices that we're experiencing throughout the 5 days. And just to let you know, a reminder, the sessions are up for 48 hours. So you can watch them again, you can do these practices again, you can share them with your friends in that way. And if you decide you want to reference the summit for a longer period of time, you can also check out the summit collection. And we'll put a link for that in the chat box as well. And the next session that will be coming up is with Fran Booth on somatic parts work, or somatic IFS, which will be a really great session as well. And we hope to see you there. And again, I want to thank you so much. And I'm super excited to dive into your book. It's on my desk. I don't know why I was holding my hand. It's on my desk, but I haven't had a chance to dive in quite yet. So I'm excited.
Well,
Yeah.
we have, courses through Presencing Institute and other things. So I
We'll
hope,
put the link to that.
I hope I get to see some of you again. I've really appreciated our time together.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. See you very soon.
Yep.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Please stay in your body. Okay.
Yes.
Don't forget. They're
Thank you
not
for
just practices, you've got a life. So you
listening.
please stay in there.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.